This is Sky Sports.
Britain's Dan Weldon was the runaway winner of Miami's opening round of the Indy Car Series. The Andretti Green teamster celebrated as his rivals licked their wounds. Almost half the field were wiped out in a controversial multi-car pile-up. Now the Indy stars who live in the 200-mile-per-hour zone have crossed from east to west to the track in the desert, Phoenix, Arizona, for round 2. He's in good shape to keep his 100% record in 2005, but who can stop Dan Weldon? We're about to find out in today's XM Satellite Radio Indy 200. Hello everyone, today we're among the cactus at one of America's most historic ovals, the tight 1 mile bull ring of a track that is Phoenix, Arizona. The action here will be fast and furious, with finding a way through the traffic a key consideration. 2 weeks ago, Dan Weldon didn't have much trouble with traffic, of course, in the latter stages of the race. A multi-car incident eliminating almost half the field. Well, joining me this week in the studio to discuss that and today's race in Phoenix are our regular IndyCar experts, Paul Cherry and Christopher Tate. And I think, gentlemen, we have to talk about that incident last time out. Huge accident. The costs involved at the first round of the series really, for some teams, must be prohibitive, Christopher.
Well, I mean, just look at it, Keith. It probably started with Matsura getting unnecessarily across the front of Scheckter. But as you then said earlier on, 8 cars gone into the wall in various ways, and a big accident for young lady Danica Patrick as well.
Well, this was actually a 2-part accident. We saw the first part where Matsura got it wrong in the middle of the pack, but this is the second part of it. In fact, that was Matsura that was spinning out. The second part of it was going on behind these guys around the track. This is it now. We're on board with Danica, and Ed Carpenter, he got right out of the throttle, didn't he?
Well, he went very slowly indeed, so slowly that she really wasn't ready for it, and that was a slight lack of experience on the ovals. Danica hit the wall very hard. There you see it. She clips the top of his car and gets flung into the wall very hard. She's been out with concussion for quite a few days afterwards. Some doubt as to whether she'd make this race today at Phoenix, but she's back with us.
Paul, you've got to say, for Danica Patrick, just 22 years old, a rookie this year, she was having a very, very good drive. That
very strong race. Qualified very well. 9th place, I mean, unbelievable situation for her first event. She ran very, very strongly. And it was a bit of a disappointment. Let's hope she comes back strongly from it, because accidents like that can leave a bit of a mental scar on you. Well,
we'll be keeping an eye on her, of course. Now then, they've started off this week, as they seem to have started the season off, with Patrick Carpentier having a big one as well. We can look at him now. This was yesterday in qualifying. And it's a frightening few moments before the marshals get to him. We've only just seen this footage as it's come into Sky Sports here. And Carpentier there, with some of the bodywork on top of him, was taking his time to get out. A heated moment.
Well, it was a very, very big smack, and we've heard overnight from the track that he did hit his ribs very hard. I mean, there I think he's saying my overalls are on fire. Of course they're not. They're designed to take that much heat without any problem, Keith. But he had actually hurt his ribs quite badly, and he's been a bit strapped up overnight, and he'll be starting from the back of the grid today.
As will Tony Kanaan, of course, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Now let's talk about this track, Paul, at the moment. It's a 1 mile round, tight little track. I mentioned the traffic at the top of the show is going to be a problem, isn't it?
Oh, it's a terrible place. There's only one racing groove. You know, we saw at Homestead 2 and 3 people side by side. Here you'll see that at the start, but not at the finish. It really is one of those tracks.
Well, let's reflect back, of course, to last time out. Dan Weldon certainly started the season well, and in Victory Lane 2 weeks ago he had high praise for his team.
Fantastic job for the team. I mean, they worked very hard on this, and you know, it's going to be a tough season. You could see how competitive it was, but I'm very, very happy with the result. Really good way to start a very competitive 17 race championship, so I'm proud.
your teammate Tony Kanaan. They have a category in basketball called assist. He did a great job keeping the Penske guys busy when he got around both of them there with about 15 to go.
Yeah, I think obviously my car was very competitive, and here's the boss.
Michael Andretti giving him a big hug, and
but it was, you know, the car was just excellent. I think Eddie Jones did a fantastic job, and you know, it's my first time with John Anderson and the boys, and it's just a good team. It's really good to be part of, but we got to keep doing this because you know, Penske are hot on our heels, and so are the other teams.
You finished the year second in the points a year ago. Could this be the omen that this is Dan Weldon's year, like it was Tony Kanaan's a year ago?
Brother, we're one race into the championship. One race. There's 16 to go, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I just enjoy winning races, so that's what I'm going to do. Who cares about anything else?
Well, he did say it's a good way to start the season. It doesn't get much better than that, but of course one round does not make a championship, Paul.
No, I mean, as he quite rightly says, there's 16 more races. The road courses are thrown in this year, which will add a bit of a variable, although Dan's very, very good at those. But it's going to add a different dimension to this championship this year. So I think the fat lady's going to be singing for a lot longer yet.
Well, we'll be singing as well as far as Dan Weldon's concerned. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that. But let's take a look at the headlines now. Brian Herder takes the pole position for the first time in his IndyCar career. But sure to be looking for his second successive win is, of course, Dan Weldon, who starts beside him on the grid. And after 10 years in IndyCar, will Scott Sharp celebrate his 100th race in style? And now then, the big news. Defending champion Tony Kanaan will start from the back of the grid after missing qualifying. And we can talk about that right now. Paul, you've got the latest on that. Missing qualifying doesn't quite tell the whole picture, does it?
No, it was, he ran the first two sessions yesterday, and in the second session the engine was overheating slightly. They went out and checked it again. They couldn't find anything wrong with the cooling system, so as a precaution they decided to change the engine. Now the IRL rules now stipulate that you must use only one engine per weekend, because there were as many as 3 engines being used. And so he's changed his engine, has to start from the back of the grid. Anywhere else I'd fancy it, but here it's going to be hard. But he'll pick up points.
I was going to say, we did talk about this before we came on air, Christopher, and the fact is that One Groove Racetrack, as Paul's already said, starting from the back, I can't remember when that's been done.
Well, to win from the back, I'm scratching my mind. I think in the last couple of years we've had a number of winners in the IRL from as far back as 15th, 16th on the grid, but the back is difficult. The trouble with Phoenix is it's a funny old day there as well. There's a slight possibility of some drizzle. There's always dust blowing onto the track. As you know, it's in the middle of the desert there. It's in a natural bowl in the desert. And as the race goes on, the racing line gets narrower and narrower. Be very tricky, but it's that sort of thing. That sort of thing that could allow Kanaan to come on through. You know, other people in front of him, a lot less experience than he's got.
Well, he's won it the last 2 years running. I mean, it's a situation where Tony Kanaan does know. Makes for a very interesting prospect for us tonight. But Andretti Green, again, we said it in our opening show. Is Andretti Green the best team at the moment? You said, Paul, I remember as a quote, they definitely are starting this series as the best team, and certainly with the exception of poor old Brian Herter, I think it was last time out, they've got an excellent record. And getting better.
Well, certainly their strategy is the thing that's really played. Every time last year we saw time and time again they took pit stop gambles, they moved their players around, and Penske was always acknowledged as the masters of pit stop strategy. You have to say Andretti Green have got one step ahead, and here will be important. What
a night we're in for, of course. Well, the cars are out on the grid in Phoenix now, so let's cross over and hope the weather stays fine, of course. Your commentators trackside are Gary Lee and Larry Rice. Please enjoy Phoenix.
And there's a look at Scott Sharp yesterday signing autographs. Danica Patrick, a favorite driver now with the Indy Racing League. And of course, always a ham, Tony Kanaan, as he makes the face to the camera. As we take a look at the starting grid, Brian Herta, his first pole position with the Indy Racing League. He won at Kansas back in '03, and he'll be towing alongside his winner from 2 weeks ago, Dan Weldon, his teammate with Andretti Green. In the second row, Elio Castroneves, the winner here in '02, and Thomas Scheckter will have that Chevrolet power plant outside the second row. In the third row, Dario Franchitti and Sam Hornish, who is now second in the point standing. Sam won here back in 2001. Thomas Indy, a rookie, and Scott Dixon, the champion 2 years ago, will occupy row 4. In the fifth row on the inside, it's Scott Sharp starting his 100th race. He won here back in '98. And Buddy Rice, last year's Indy 500 champion. Darren Manning and Vito Mira will occupy row 6. In the 7th row, Roger Yasukawa and the rookie Ryan Briscoe. And as you take a look at the rest of the starting lineup, we should go green this time. Overcast skies. There has been rain over the weekend in the area. Their hope right now is to get 101 laps in.
Yeah, they're just trying to get this thing in. They went green 1 lap sooner than we had expected because of all that. And you can see Thomas Scheckter was not quite up there where he should have been. I don't think he was quite ready for that green flag.
Well, right now they are concerned about the weather. Although we had a 60% chance, yesterday's forecast called for a 60% chance. It dropped to 20 this morning, but as you see on any kind of a wide shot, the skies are somewhat threatening. And look at Tony Kanaan on the outside.
Wow, look at that. He went by 3 cars down there in 3 and 4. That's Scott Sharpie's outside of now, just went by him. So he has already moved way up to 10th.
10th position after starting 21st, 11 cars in 1 lap. I don't think they keep records like that in the IRL, but I think that was just a track record.
Man, I said this was a difficult place to pass, but it looked like everybody else was still on the pace lap because he was so fast around the outside of everybody.
And now he moves to the inside.
Wow, he's just going inside, outside. Those first 12 cars, 11 cars, he went right around the outside like they weren't even there. Meanwhile, Dan Weldon up front is leading this race, and everybody else is just following him.
Hurta got a good jump at the start, but Weldon took off as we were watching Kanaan, and now Weldon has led the opening 3 laps. Hurta is 2nd, Castroneves 3rd, Scheckter 4th, Franchitti is 5th, then Hornish, but Kanaan is on the move up to 8th after 3 laps. What are we talking about? How difficult it is to pass on this racetrack?
Wow, he is really, I mean, he was fast in practice. He just had that overheating problem. It'd be interesting to see if they've got that completely fixed because he is extremely fast here. As you can see right there, though, that was Franchitti stuck his nose down under Thomas Scheckter, and when he didn't make the pass, he lost a lot of ground.
Lost the momentum, had to get out of the throttle. As you ride looking off the back of Scheckter, there's Dan Weldon already up to a 7/10 of a second lead.
Wow, he made the last race kind of a runaway. He was so much faster than anybody else. It looks like he's also very quick here today and could do the same thing.
Well, we talked about this, Larry, 2 weeks ago, that within the Andretti Green team, they kind of predicted him to be the star this year.
Well, he certainly so far has been, and when you're out front like that, it makes it a whole lot easier. The thing about this race, though, is there's going to be a lot of traffic. There's some slow cars out there. They will be in lap traffic very shortly, and once you get in lap traffic, it becomes a whole new ball game.
Look at Kanaan. Look at Kanaan now up to 7th position, all over the rear wing of Sam Hornish.
Well, it's going to get tougher from here on out. These guys are going to be a lot faster and a lot harder to pass, but he certainly has proven he's got one of the fastest cars on the racetrack right now.
Well, Hornish won this race a couple of years back. Hornish was victorious back in 2001. Of course, Kanaan has won the last 2 outings here.
Yeah, he's very quick here. He always has been. And again today, he didn't start in the back of the field because he was slow all weekend. He started in the back of the field because he had some engine problems. Once you change an engine in Indy cars, you have to go to the back of the field. And he did change an engine because they were overheating so badly.
Well, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th all stacked up nose to tail on the racetrack, working on lap 9. Weldon continues to lead, continues to open up the lead. Now over a second. 2.8 over Castroneves, who has gotten around Hurta for 2nd. Hurta drops to 3rd. 4th is Scheckter. Then it's Franchitti, Hornish, and Kanaan.
Well, you're looking at 2 of the best drivers in traffic in the IRL. That's Sam Hornish and Thomas Scheckter. Both of these guys very aggressive, very good in traffic. And you saw both of them. They split Paul Dana a while ago. One went around the inside, the other on the outside.
So Dana's the only driver now a lap off the pace. Eddie Carpenter's back in 21st position. 20th is Danica Patrick. Foyt is 19th. And you take a look at Hornish on the high side. Tough place to pass right there.
You got out there going down through 3 and 4. It's a long way around on the outside. You can do it, but you got to be faster than the other guy by quite a bit.
It's much more difficult than, say, at a Texas or a Nashville or.
Well, the corners are a lot sharper here than they are on those big 1.5 miles. This is a 1 mile oval. Turns 3 and 4 are relatively flat. They don't have a lot of banking. So once you get out there, you really got to have that thing glued to the racetrack to make that pass.
Well, Kanaan remains back in 7th position after passing 11 cars on the opening lap. And of course, now it becomes much more difficult to pick these guys up. He's up there with the big boys now.
That's right. Looks like Scheckter is kind of holding Hornish up a little bit.
So So Weldon continues to lead this thing over Castro-Neves, Herta, Schechter, Hornish, and Franchitti.
Welcome back. Well, Dan Weldon doing his job absolutely perfectly in Phoenix, Arizona, of course leading from the front, but a big accident, and really his teammate out there, Brian Herta, finding himself rather mired. We can take a look at it now. 15. It's Buddy Rice, sorry, it's Buddy Rice, not Brian Herta. It's Buddy Rice that's in big damage, and the marshals on their way.
Not good, and we hope that Buddy's going to be okay and will get out of the car without too much trouble. This is not a happy time for the Rahal Letterman team. You will recall that it's young Danica Patrick who drives for them now as well. They lost one Paynos G-Force last 2 weeks ago, and that's another one gone. The track is very slippy. I had a little bet with myself that we would have something in the first 20 minutes.
Well, he did it all by himself.
In the first 20 laps, and there we go. He did it all by himself.
The reigning Indy 500 champion, of course, spinning out, and you were right, your prediction, and I can verify that. That's exactly what you did say. We're under a yellow flag at this moment in time, of course. Won't be going to green for a while by the look of the amount of fluid that was coming out from under that car, Paul.
No, it's always the problem. That's why they get the old dry stuff on the ground straight away. But didn't see Buddy getting out the car that quick, but didn't look a big hit, but sadly it was all his own fault.
Well, there's a man that's our man of the match so far, Tony Kanaan. I can't believe the amount of people he passed in the first lap. I mean, really was spectacular.
Wasn't that a blinding start? And it's really great because it's not often. These are, after all, the whole object of the RL rules, Keith, are to make the engine and the chassis combinations as similar as possible. And for someone to be able to do what we just saw Kanaan doing over the first few laps is just tremendous.
It's a wonderful thing from an engineering point of view, but from my point of view, it's the commitment of the reigning champion to actually risk, and certainly he took a few risks in that opening few laps to make his way by. He got held up a little bit in the Franchitti, Sam Hornish kind of freight train that was going on, but I mean up until that particular point he was making up ground hand over fist, Paul.
I think the thing with Tony was that he had worked his tyres in those opening laps, because to have that commitment, yes, he's the champion, he knows he can do it. But if the tyres aren't going to grip, then he's just going to be like Buddy Rice, spinning like a top. And I think you'll find he's got a little in reserve and worked his tyres that little bit harder.
Elio Castro-Neves well placed in second place at the moment on the track, along with Brian Herta, of course, who I misidentified a little bit earlier on. Brian Herta, Dan Weldon's teammate and Andretti Green, and looking for a win from that pole position, but Dan Weldon got the drop on him.
You must admit the four-car team looks pretty strong, doesn't it? There is a big tidy-up going on there. We're just seeing on screen now at the moment. I think there was a lot more fluid out of the car than we thought there was.
There was a lot underneath.
There's Weldon in shot. His performance has been impressive. As we were just saying, Kanaan's performance from the back of the grid, unbelievable. Franchitti's in the top 5 as well, and Brian Herta is lying third. I mean, there's not very much you can argue about the way Andretti Green's got their race team organised at the moment. And it is, to a certain extent, making the others look a bit silly.
Well, we got off to a very sharp start in Arizona, of course. Worried about the weather, the clouds and the risk of precipitation were at 60% a little bit earlier on in the forecast. So they really did crack this one underway. We're under our first yellow of the day at the moment after number 15, Buddy Rice, all by himself, spins out. We will go back to the track now, just in case our commentators have got anything more up to date from trackside.
Yasukawa, Carpentier, Danica Patrick, and A.J. Foyt. Yeah, Carpenter has not pitted. You see, Carpenter was a lap off the pace. He's trying to get that lap back by
Schechter. Schechter had a bad pit stop. He went from 4th clear back to 12th. He got beat by several guys out of the pits that time around.
20 laps now complete. You can see how dark it is. The Valley of the Sun is what they call this, but the sun has deserted us this afternoon. It's very, very dark as you see them running under the yellow as you look from the back of Herta's number 7 in second position. 21 laps now complete under the first yellow of the afternoon as Buddy Rice brings out the yellow. Weldon, Herta, Franchitti, Manning, and Mira, they did not stop under this yellow.
It's interesting that Kanaan did stop. It is 17 degrees here, wind is 13 kilometers an hour. It's out of the south-southwest. 20% chance of rain. So the rain chance has gone down in the last hour or so, but there still are a lot of clouds. And one way that helps these drivers, because a lot of times when it's a little cloudy and then the sun comes out, this racetrack will change drastically. But because it is so cloudy, it's going to be very consistent as far as the weather goes. It's going to be cloudy all day, and it's not going to get very hot out there.
There's a look at Weldon, and there's a look at second place Herta. Herta from the pole position rides in second, did not make that pit stop under the yellow. You look back at Franchitti. So you have the top three are all Andretti Green teammates, Weldon, Herta, and Franchitti. There's a look at Dario, who won a couple times last year.
Yeah, those three guys were already running up front. They just chose not to pit. Now, Manning was running fourth, Mira was running fifth, Matsura. They were all running farther back in the pack, so they've gained a lot. There's Darren Manning right there.
Started in 11th position up to fourth because he did not make the pit stop. And Vito Mira, who we expect a lot of things from this year, always very fast. He is currently in fifth position after starting in 12th. Back in the sixth position is the bad boy. Matsura back in sixth position. There he is. He's on probation for about 4 races for that stunt he pulled 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were not happy with him at all when he went out there 3 wide and then spun and took the whole field out. So he is on probation and has to keep his nose clean. There's Briscoe, a young man who went from Sydney, Australia over to Italy to run. He was about 15 years old and running race cars ever since. And obviously they have high hopes for him there at the Target team.
Sam Hornish in 8th position. He did make a pit stop. Won here 3 years ago.
And he was quick before that yellow flag. He was very, very quick. So
we're hearing now from our pit spotter that there may have been some contact, perhaps leading the pits, between Sharp and number 8 Carpentier. This is a somewhat narrow pit lane.
Yes, it is. It's a very narrow pit lane. You have to be careful entering and exiting. There is Carpentier. You can't see any damage from here to the front wing or anything. So, maybe if they weren't going very fast, there wasn't a lot of damage. You can see him weaving back and forth just to make sure everything is okay.
Now, the French Canadian joined the Cheever Red Bull operation because by his own admission, he wants to race in the Indianapolis 500.
Right. You can see the wings on these cars are much different on this racetrack than they are in the big super speedways. They have double element wings where they've got really 2 wings on each side of in the front and same way in the back.
Well, Buddy Rice has been checked out from the infield care center. We hope to get a comment from him momentarily as we remain under yellow. Yellow came out on lap 16. We're now on lap 25. And about half the field has made the first pit stop.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Still hoping to get down to hear from Buddy. So Dan Weldon.
Are you okay?
Oh, there's Jamie.
Yeah, everything's okay right now.
Scott Remke earlier was saying that you guys may have had some issues earlier with your car. What was going on?
We just made some changes before the start of the race, and we're trying to improve the car, obviously, because we needed to get points. And then when we have, we work together to make those adjustments, and it just doesn't help when I make a mistake like this, especially when we need points after what happened the last race.
What was the mistake that you feel you made?
We're just trying to hang on, and things are super loose, and just the way it goes. I guess I could have slowed up a little bit more to try to preserve it, but we're just trying to stay where we're at for right now until we got the first round of pit stops, but it's just the way it goes.
It has gotten colder since you guys ran this morning. Did that play a factor at all?
No, I think more of it is just what we changed, and we didn't come off, we were pretty good, I think, when we rolled off the trailer. Just the way the weather's changed, the way everything's gone, it's just we've lost the handle on the car for this weekend. It's just it's the way it goes.
Very frustrating for the Rahal Letterman driver, Indianapolis 500 champion. He's been out now 2 races in a row. Guys?
I have to laugh, Larry, when you watch these people on cell phones behind a television. They're calling home, hey, I'm on television. Make sure you see me right now. It's their not 15 minutes of fame, but maybe 15 seconds of fame. So driver okay, but Buddy Rice has brought out the yellow, and now we're on lap 27 under yellow here at Phoenix.
While we were away, the XM Satellite Radio Indy 200 went to green in Arizona. Let's get back to the track.
Look at Kanaan. He sticks his nose down under there. Couldn't quite make the pass, but boy, he was all over the back of Sam Hornish.
Well, Kanaan has already, in those 4 laps under green, opened up a 1.1 second lead. He's saying goodbye, y'all. You have a lot of fun back there racing behind me, but I'm checking out.
Yeah, Weldon has just really got that race car almost set up perfectly. He is just so much faster than anybody else. He's running like 2 miles an hour a lap faster than anybody else some of these laps. So
realistically, Larry, you really can't say enough about this Andretti Green organization. It's tough enough to be competitive week in and week out with one driver. They're competitive with 4 drivers. He was dominant 2 weeks ago on a totally different kind of racetrack. He comes here, sits in the front row, and has been totally dominant in the first 33 laps of this race.
It's Paul Dana he's coming up on very quickly. Dana gets over and gets out of the way, makes pretty quick work of him. You're right, Gary. He has really been quick here in the last 2 races.
There's the battle for second to the inside of Paul Dana. And that's Herta in the black and yellow car, number 7. Franchitti rides in 3rd. Manning is 4th.
Well, they've got to be very happy at Team Green. Those 2 guys are hanging right in there. They're not all that far behind Weldon, and both of them are in very quick laps.
Manning is back there in 4th position as you ride along with him. He goes on the inside of Dana. Oh, they almost get together. Or did they actually touch?
He got.
I couldn't tell by his steering wheel. It looked like they almost made contact.
Yeah, he was pushing the front end just a little bit coming off of that corner. Dana was out against the wall, but he almost didn't get inside of him in time.
So Manning there in the 4th position. Matsuura is 5th. There's Matsuura right behind him, and right behind Matsuura is Kastronevich in number 3 and Hornish in number 6. Kanaan rides in the 8th position, number 11, back to that green and white car.
Yeah, Matsuura just kind of running right behind Manning, and Kastronevich is really running quicker than Matsuura, just hasn't found a way to get around him yet.
Explain that. That's a phenomenon in racing when you can actually be running slower than the people behind you. But depending on the racetrack and how wide the groove is, they can't get around.
Yeah, and a lot of times if they don't make a mistake or if they don't get out of the groove, it's very difficult because you just got to kind of follow the guy. Right there, he got a good run on him as Manning had to get out of the throttle for that slower car.
That slower car was number 24 of Yasukawa.
Yeah, it was Yasukawa, and he just. But if you have to lift just the slightest bit in a critical part of the racetrack, that's why driving in traffic is so important. We mentioned earlier that this is one of the toughest racetracks on the circuit for traffic, and if you're really good and you're really brave in traffic, it helps you tremendously. And that's why Sam Hornish was always so good here. He took some chances that a lot of people didn't like, but he always made them pay off.
And probably of all the racetracks we're going to see this season, this is the one that if you're good in traffic, you have to take the most chances on.
This is a handling racetrack. Number 1, your race car has got to be handling very well. Number 2, it's a race car driver's racetrack. If your car's handling and you're brave, you stick your nose in there where maybe some guys wouldn't, then you got a great chance to win. And that you can see that the guys up there in front, when they get to that traffic, you can't hesitate. You got to go for it one way or the other, outside or inside.
Well, Weldon, as we watch this battle back in traffic with Manning, Matsuura, and Kastronevich, which is 4th, 5th, and 6th. You can tell you Weldon right there continues to open up. He's 1.2 over Herta. Now make that 1.6 as he completes lap 42.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of lapped cars in this race because he is running so fast. And look at this. Matsuura goes to the outside and gets around Manning.
Matsuura goes around Manning for 4th position.
Manning must be having a problem because there goes Kastronevich. All of a sudden, he seems to have slowed down a little bit. And here comes Kanaan.
Kanaan goes around Hornish for 7th position. So Kanaan now has settled into a rhythm after passing 11 cars. If you missed the opening of the race, you missed perhaps the best opening lap ever in IndyCar racing when he passed 11 cars on a tight racetrack on the opening lap.
Unbelievable how many cars he passed and how easily he passed them. I mean, he just blew them away.
Now they're going by Carpenter in the Vision number 20. Carpenter now 2 laps off the pace. Those at least a lap off the pace are Danica Patrick, Yasukawa, Briscoe is 2 laps, Carpenter 2 laps, and Dana already is 11 laps off the pace.
And you can hear they're flat out through 3 and 4. The only place they lift is going into turn number 1 or if they get in traffic. Now Kanaan They warned
little blocking right there.
These same two guys in the last race had a bit of a problem. They were kind of blocking each other. They warned Tony Kanaan not to be blocking. They said they almost pulled him in. Right there, he pulled down on Hornish, so he doesn't want to get
and
too
you saw what happened. I'm assuming at this point that when he pulled down, Hornish kind of lifted just a bit, and look at all the RPMs he lost in that big gap that opened up.
And that's exactly what happened. So Hornish does not want to do that, and he doesn't want to get black flag. I mean,
now, this was a few laps ago. Now watch this. When we thought they made contact, Manning on the inside of Paul Dana, right there, it looked like there was contact in that right rear.
And that may be why he slowed down so drastically. You can see that little bump, and if you just touch him a little bit, the parts on these cars are very fragile. You can bend those uprights and so forth very, very easily with a very slight contact. This is not a contact sport in IndyCar racing.
Well, Manning right now finds himself in the hold of Kanaan. Manning is in 6th, Kanaan is 7th, Hornish is 8th, then Scheckter is 9th, Mira is 10th as we complete lap number 49. And Weldon has led all 48 laps so far.
Well, you can see how much faster the really fast cars are than some of these other guys are being lapped.
Matsura going around Danica Patrick. This is a good education for her because she comes from a background of road racing. She's never really had traffic quite like this.
And she struggled very badly here this weekend. I mean, she just has not been as quick as she wanted to be. She's had a lot of trouble. She qualified badly, and she's not running very good right now.
And Matsura is tucked in behind her in the 55 car.
Well, and the other thing,
around Castronevitz, got around Castronevitz in traffic.
Well, he certainly did. And look at Kanaan, he's going to get around too.
They were trying to get around the 16 car.
Wow.
And they had to slow it just a bit, and Kanaan took advantage and pulls up on Hornish as Matsura already went by Hornish. I talk about gutsy move. Look at that. He stuck his nose down there, didn't have the momentum off the corner.
Castronevitz really was brave right there. He stayed on the outside of Kanaan going through 1 and 2, stayed out there, and just kept on cranking. There you can see that they're looking at some of the front suspensions on some of these cars, showing exactly what it looks like and how fragile it is.
This is the battle now for 5th position. Well, this is the battle for 4th. Matsura's in 4th. As Castronevitz goes to the high side, he's going to make the pass on the high side down the front straightaway. Now, where's Kanaan going? He's going to the inside. There's a gutsy move. When you've got one guy going around the outside and you stick your nose down underneath, you know that guy in front of you is looking off to the right, and you're going left. That's a gutsy move.
Well, turn number 1 is a good place to pass, but you've got to be very careful.
Got to make sure that guy sees you, though.
That's right, because Kanaan did a great job giving Castronevitz room. When Castronevitz was on the outside of him, turn number 2, the car wants to go right straight to the wall. He gave him plenty of room.
Here comes Kanaan on the inside of Danica again. And goes by. Kanaan now up to 5th position. He has yet to lead, but his teammate Dan Weldon has led all 54 laps. Did not make that pit stop. Back on lap 19. There's Danica. Right now she's doing exactly what she needs to do. Needs to keep her nose clean and get laps in traffic, get laps under her belt.
Well, this is a very, very difficult racetrack. I'm sure she's not quite as comfortable this week as she was last week. She took a very, very hard hit. She doesn't want to do that again, so she's just taking it a little easy.
In every other sport, there can be practice games. There's no such thing as a practice game in IndyCar racing. She is out there getting experience the only way she can.
Exactly. Every time you get in that car, it's for real, and you're running plenty fast.
So Dan Weldon continues to lead now with a 5.7 second advantage over his teammate Herta and over 6.5 seconds over his teammate Franchitti.
So they may have played their cards wrong. If they have to stop under green, they'll lose probably a lap. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens here, because if they don't get a yellow probably in the next 10 laps, or on lap 62 right now, I don't think they can go much more than 73, maybe 74 laps, so maybe 12 laps to go.
And if they do get a yellow, they look like a hero.
Yep, that's right. They guessed very well and maintain the lead. If they don't, then they made a huge mistake.
Well, in 2 laps, Weldon jumped the lead from 1.3 seconds to 1.9 seconds. So you can see just exactly what will happen. He was over 5 seconds ahead of Herta in traffic, and they lost that lead. It dropped to 1.3 seconds. Now he's climbing back up, and it's almost 2 seconds.
Yeah, you can see Herta got through around Danica Patrick very easily. It looks like Frankitti's having more of a problem, and he's letting Castroneves really gain a lot of ground on him as he tries to get around Danica Patrick.
There's a look at the 34-year-old Brian Herta, who has won on this track in the past, back in about 1995, but won his first pole position here today with the Indy Racing League. Now you ride with Danica Patrick, who right now is back in 17th position. She's 2 laps off the pace, but she's doing exactly what Bobby Rahal wants her to do.
Yeah, right now you can see Franchitti, once he got a little run on her, he just went right on by. She saw him in the mirror, she let out of the throttle, and just let him go. She didn't want to hang him up anymore.
So Weldon enjoying that big lead over Herta, then Franchitti, Castroneves, Kanaan, then it's Cornish, Matsura, Manning, Schechter, and in 10th position is Vito Mira. But now 66 laps since the start of the race. Weldon has led all 66 as the clouds begin to build here above Phoenix International. Of course, 101 laps would constitute a completed race. This is a 200-lap scheduled event.
Look at Manning. He's already coming up on Scott Dixon. I mean, Weldon, he's coming up on Scott Dixon. Could put him a lap down. So he's really running quick out there. And I'm sure Scott Dixon, he's not going to let him around. He doesn't want to lose that lap, believe me, at this point anyway.
And so once again, the question is how many laps can these guys go up in front before they have to make a green flag pit stop? Well, that would put them obviously over a lap back.
We ride along with Thomas Schechter. He's back in 9th position. Does not appear to be nearly as quick as he was at Homestead last time out. He was very, very quick there. He struggled a little bit here today. I mean, he's been running up in the front, but still not nearly as quick. He was as quick as Weldon almost last time out.
Schechter with Chevrolet power the last season for Chevrolet. And look at this. This is the battle for second position. The two teammates side by side. And Franchitti, where did he come from? Because there was a huge gap that developed between second and third when they were trying to lap Danica Patrick. Where did he come from? Now he has second spot.
Yeah, I think maybe Herta has slowed up just slightly because he did. He really caught him in a hurry. And once he got him, he got to him. He just went right on by.
And Franchitti now less than a second behind the leader. So Franchitti now is stuck in behind Patrick Carpentier.
I think that's
look
Barron.
At this. Is that Barron?
That's Barron, the other Red Bull car. And look, yeah, he's catching up with Weldon right now. Weldon also is slowing down. So very interesting as Weldon does not seem to be getting through the traffic quite as well as maybe his teammates are.
Weldon looking for a way around Dixon. As you said, Dixon is not about to let him go by and put him a lap down. And here comes Franchitti. We could have a lead change.
Well, he's going to get by him because Weldon was just out of the throttle so much. I don't see how he can stay in front of him. Now then Weldon, when he comes up on, Franchitti, when he comes up on Dixon, though, he's got to find a way around him. Weldon did not solve the puzzle. He followed Dixon for several laps, tried to go inside, tried to go outside, never could find a way to get around. Now Franchitti, if he gets by him pretty easily, then we're going to know that Franchitti's car is handling much better in the traffic.
Look at that. Look at that. Wow. He climbed right at the prime spot to catch him, but Weldon's coming in.
Weldon's heading for the pits, lap 73. We said they'd probably pit like at 72, so Franchitti, he's going to have to pit pretty soon.
So Franchitti on the second leader of the afternoon.
Yeah, Franchitti, Matsura, Manning, all those guys are going to have to head in here pretty quickly. Under green, they're going to cost them at least one lap. Remember, they've got a speed limit on pit lane. They have to stay under that speed limit, and so you have to go very slowly. Herta's in there too. You can see him pulling out well. Here comes Franchitti.
And that will give Castroneves the lead. So Franchitti led. Oh no, a yellow on the racetrack. That's what these guys were waiting for.
There's Thomas Indy. He's gotten into the outside wall. This will probably still not help Franchitti all that much because he had to go through the pits very, very slowly. He's going to go back out on the racetrack, but he's not going to be in the lead any longer.
Oh, if they had stayed out for one more lap, their pit strategy would have played out for him and paid some high dividends. Our second caution of the afternoon, Thomas Indy.
Yeah, He did not hit the wall very hard. He just looked like he brushed it, but obviously he couldn't continue. You can see the right front's all bent up, right rear's all bent up, so he slid it. He hit it completely sideways. But with these cars, they're so fragile. Once you've touched something like the wall, you're in trouble. You can see he just got out in the marbles, went out there, slapped it just on the side, going down through turns 3 and 4, and stayed right up against the wall and went about halfway down the front straightaway.
Well, with the pit stops, Castroneves is now being shown as your third leader of the afternoon. We want to hear from Michael Andretti, who's had all 4 of his cars in the top 5 this afternoon. Castroneves, though, leads this. Kanan is second. Hornish is third.
Andretti, that caution is not what you wanted to see, Michael, for your team, and especially for Dan Weldon.
Nah, that hurt for him and Brian, for sure. Now they got the work cut out for him. It's a bummer, but what can you do?
Now, Tony Kanaan has gone off schedule just a bit by pitting early. Very unusual for your team to divvy up strategies. Was it due to the fact that he had to start in the back that you decided to go that way?
Well, I think so, and he was, the last one in line, so he was the one that, was in a position to take the biggest chance, and it looks like it may pay off for him.
Now, how many chances will the guys that now have been hurt by this caution have to take?
It's still a long way to go. I mean, if there's another caution, they'll get waved around and they'll get the lap back, so it's not over.
It ain't over till it's over, Jerry.
Okay, as we take a look.
Not over till it's over, but it gives us an opportunity to get back in here. Such a lot to talk about, so I'll be very, very quick as far as my opening gambit's concerned. Paul, I mean, strategy-wise, it's all gone out the window now, hasn't it? But how much is that yellow at this particular point going to upset the race?
Well, it's upset the guys who came in and did their green flag stop, because that's not what you want to do. But if you remember, as Michael was just alluding to, Tony came in out of sequence, filled up. He's not going to come in on this stop, I'm sure. That'll ramp him right up the order. He'll be keeping his fingers crossed for another yellow. If not, he's got to make another green stop. But at this moment in time, I think he's probably looking quite, I take it all back.
Take it all back.
He's come in.
Mr. Kanaan.
I would have thought they'd have kept him out, to be honest.
Well, he's confident at the moment, isn't he, with the way things have been going. So, a full load for him. Now, just put it in perspective on what difference, the yellow between when Weldon came in, he was under green. What difference in laps advantage will that have given everyone else as far as their window is concerned?
A lap is the answer. I mean, if you come in on this circuit, short 1 mile oval, stop under green, do the whole proper pit stop routine, go out again, you are a lap behind. Come in under a yellow when everyone comes in a queue like this, and we've just seen them all pulling into their pit boxes, you are severely disadvantaged if you've just done what we saw Weldon just doing. So it's a problem. Not as irritating as it is for Franchitti, for instance, who came in and then couldn't refuel and had to go out again because under the rules the yellow was already out.
There it is then, Helio Castroneves, Tony Kanaan, Sam Hornish, Kazuki Matsuura, of course, the man that caused our big accident in Miami a couple of weeks ago. That's how it looks at the moment. We're under yellow. We'll be back, hopefully, when they go green. We're still under our second yellow in Phoenix, Arizona, after Thomas Enger hit the wall just a little bit earlier on. Now then, we can talk very briefly here that, remarkably, Tony Kanaan, having seen that quick pit stop that he made a moment ago, and that made your eyebrows look up a bit there, Christopher, he's just been in again, hasn't he?
Well, just before the break, you said, well, that's quick, he's got a full load in. As he pulled away, I wondered if he'd got a full load in. Since then, off camera to us while we were away, he has come back in and topped up his tanks. They obviously had some sort of fueling problem. Well, and so there we go. But
well, Captain has a first and second at the moment. So we've got the Penske boys first and second at the moment. Helio Castroneves and that man Sam Hornish. Let's get back to the track live as they come to the green flag.
And the green flag near the back of the pack because of that second pit stop under that yellow flag.
You can see everybody trying to deal with the lap traffic. Scheckter got way wide out there. He's going to get caught out there behind Danica Patrick. I don't think he might get inside of her going down there, but he did not get a very good restart.
There's a look at number 3, Castroneves.
He and Hornish running in second place, so Hornish had a pretty good start. Here comes Franchitti.
Franchitti goes to the inside and picks up a position.
Yeah, he's dealing with Scott Dixon there, so Dixon not having a very good run.
Dixon back in the 9th position right now. So your leader is Castroneves, who won here in 2002. In second place is his teammate Sam Hornish, who won the year before. So both these guys have found victory lane here at the Phoenix International Raceway.
Yeah, Franchitti right now looking at Matsuura trying to get around him. So Franchitti's on the move.
Franchitti may have been the biggest surprise when he came back last year after that back injury the year before, and he won a couple of races. It was competitive, and look at this in traffic. Well, Franchitti up to third position.
I am really surprised at how good he is here today. He's not known as one of the really brave guys, take chances, do that sort of things. What that tests is that race car is really handling well. For him to go out there and do what he's doing, that race car is absolutely working great.
And Franchitti, one of the drivers with a vast experience in road racing, that has to be looking forward to the next outing in a couple of weeks when we go to St. Petersburg, Florida, and the first ever road race for the Indy Racing League.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens there, and you're right. A lot of these guys who have a lot of experience on the road courses are really looking forward to getting back on the road courses. They like the ovals, but they'd like to show their wares on the road courses as well.
Well, Franchitti right now in third position, so the Penske driver still 1-2. Hornish with a half-second lead over Hornish, but that closes down now, and you can see the gap between first and second as they come off the corner to complete lap number 88.
And Weldon is up to ninth. Remember, he was at the end of the lead lap. He got to go around, got his lap back, but he was clear at the end of the stack, so he's back up to ninth place, working his way through traffic.
And Hornish looked like he closed in and had something to offer Castroneves.
Well, we all know that Sam Hornish is very good on this racetrack, and we'll see what happens when he gets to lap traffic. That's going to be where he's going to try to make a move.
Keep in mind that there was concern early in the weekend that this race could be affected by Mother Nature. There was a high probability of rain. They lessened the percentage down to about 20% chance of rain. The skies darkened for a while, and of course 101 laps would constitute a complete race. We're at 90 right now, so we'll get this race in.
Yeah.
We'll get her in because
well, they were actually saying a 90% chance of rain sometime yesterday, but all of a sudden that whole front slowed down, so it's gone down.
Ryan Briscoe, the rookie from Sydney, Australia, has brushed the wall in car number 33, but he continues on. He's a lap off the pace right now in 16th position. Those drivers that are off the pace a bit, a lap down, Patrick Carpentier in 13th position, 14th is Vito Mira, 15th is A.J. Foyt, Briscoe is 16th, Danica Patrick is 2 laps off the pace in 17th, Ed Carpenter 3 laps off the pace now in 18th, 19th is Yasukawa in
Franchitti,
4 laps off the pace.
Franchitti is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. He's really gaining on these guys. Since he got into third place, he's been pulling up on the 2 Toyota cars, 2 Penske cars. He hasn't quite caught him yet, but he's been very, very fast.
So Toyota's running 1-2, a Honda running in third position, a Honda in fourth. Yeah, you're right. Right now, he's the fastest on the racetrack.
Yeah, he's been very quick the last several laps out there. We'll see. Now they're getting into some lap traffic. We'll see now if Hornish can do anything with his teammate who's in front of him. Couldn't with that one.
Cleanly make the pass of Danica Patrick on the high side down that front straightaway, but look at Franchitti as he closes in on Hornish.
Franchitti got through the traffic better than either one of them. He closed that gap by about 3 car lengths when they were going around Danica Patrick.
Working on lap 96 as we approach the halfway point. And look at this battle back between 10 and 11.
It's Darren Manning they're going around. Remember, Manning started...
There's Briscoe. You're looking at Briscoe get very close to the outside wall. Look at that. Oh, he got the wall. That shot from Danica Patrick's car just did brush the wall. That was a couple of laps back. You saw Kanaan go around Manning for 5th position. So Manning's had a good ride here this afternoon.
Yeah, he has. He was up in 4th, started back, I think he restarted in 4th, falling back a little.
Now, one thing, a race car owner has to have some patience when he hires a young, aggressive driver, because Manning had a lot of mistakes last year, crashed a lot of cars. They've stuck with him. He's going to be a factor this year as he starts to mature. Good battle up in front with Castroneves and his teammate Sam Hornish in Toyota-powered cars. But they're going to have a Honda to deal with here shortly.
Yeah, and Hornish got kind of hung up there in the traffic, and Castroneves got through the traffic much better right there.
Franchitti has gotten around Hornish.
Hornish got hung up there, and Franchitti went on by him. So
Franchitti's doing a great job in traffic this afternoon.
He really is. I'm very surprised he's that quick at this racetrack in this traffic.
And sometimes it's not how good you are, but how lucky, because you've got to hit the traffic at the right spot, and that person you're about to lap has to be watching for you.
Yeah, but right now he's very, very quick on the racetrack. I mean, he's just so quick. The race car is handling so well that he can go just about anywhere he wants on that racetrack and not have a problem.
Well, the next time by will complete 100 laps, or one half the race. There's Scheckter in number 4 and Scott Sharp in number 8. They're back there in 7th and 8th position. Scheckter, of course, had the pole position 2 weeks ago. And there's a look back at Scott Sharp, with the age of 37, as the senior member of this group out racing this afternoon. That doesn't seem too old to us, does it?
No, and Scheckter's just struggling a little bit here at Phoenix today. He's not handling near as well as he'd like, I can guarantee you.
It's a battle for 7th position. Scott Sharp in his 100th IRL event, as he makes a move to the inside and picks up a position. That's 7th. Scott Sharp just goes by for a position and takes 7th over Scheckter as you go back to the front of the pack. Castroneves. Talk about Scott Sharp being 37, the elder statesman. Speaking of birthdays, Mr. Rice, you have one coming up in about 3 or 4 days, so happy early birthday.
Thank you. I wish I was only 37.
I'll buy you dinner this evening. We'll go to the steakhouse in the mountain, okay? They got some great steaks out there. I'll buy you dinner this evening.
Well, Castroneves right now doing a great job hanging on. Franchitti can catch him, but he doesn't have anything for him after he gets him. It looks like Franchitti is pushing a little bit off of turn number 4, coming off of turn number 4, very wide, and that's where Castroneves seems to be at least maintaining his best place on the racetrack, coming off of turn 4.
Hit by Yasukawa, who has not been competitive this afternoon. He's 5 laps now off the pace. He's right along with Scheckter, who's back there in 8th position. He has that Chevrolet power plant. And with Indy basically out of the race, that's the only Chevy out there.
Yeah, and you can see Scheckter coming off of that last, off of turn number 2. He looked like he was a little bit loose with that thing when he's going through there.
Riding with Danica Patrick, who right now is back 16th position, 3 laps off the pace.
She's kept her nose clean. She's run a nice race, but not nearly what she'd expected coming into today.
But realistically, Larry, after a hard impact she had a couple of weeks ago, she just comes back here. She runs to the finish. You know, keeps her nose clean, gets a little more experience.
And remember, this is probably the toughest track these guys run on, or these drivers run on. I mean, it's a very, very difficult racetrack to run. It's a very difficult racetrack to set your car up for. But boy, if you get it right, you can see what Dan Weldon and Frank Keating and some of these guys have done.
Physically, is this track as demanding as, say, Richmond?
I would say it's as demanding as Richmond, if not more demanding, because it's more of a round racetrack. There's only really one straightaway on this racetrack. That's the front straightaway. The rest of them, you're always in kind of a little bit of a bind. Down that back straightaway is a very, very short straightaway because of that dog leg. So, you know, physically, you've got a lot of G-forces on you a lot of time.
Running back to the top 5 in the field as you look at Sam Hornish Jr., who won this race a few years ago, back there in 3rd position. Tony Kanaan is back up to 4th. Kanaan's had the drive of the day so far because of what happened at the beginning of this race when he started at the back of the pack, passed 11 cars on the opening lap. And he actually led for a while, led a couple laps back 78 and 79.
And the only reason he's back in 5th is because they made that mistake on their pit stop. They had to come back in, put more fuel in it. He left without a full fuel load, and when he did that, cost him a lot of track position. There's a guy that's doing a great job also. Matsura, after being put on probation, everybody thought he might come out here and be a little more timid, but so far, hearing that Fernandez Racing team has done a great job.
Well, of course, his boss is here today.
Yep, he certainly is, and I'm sure he's happy to see Matsura running as well as he is.
Matsura back in the 5th spot. Sharp is now in 6th.
Heavy traffic. Franchitti's got a run on him on Castroneves. Let's see. No,
he's going to go.
He had to get out of the throttle.
Oh, they almost touched. They almost touched. He almost got the right rear wheel.
And look at this. Hornish has got a little bit of a run on Franchitti now. He may get that position back.
We talked about what a role the traffic would play in this race here this afternoon. We almost had a lead change right there.
If you catch somebody at the wrong spot at the wrong time,
again, who's this against the wall? There it is, Briscoe again, our third yellow of the afternoon.
And he did it in exactly the same place he did it the last time. Down there coming off of turn number 4. Just got very, very wide. The car's pushing coming off of turn number 4. He just kept his foot in it and went up there and banged into the wall.
Well, keep in mind, this is on lap 114. They cannot go the distance on a tank of fuel.
No, that's Roger Yasukawa in the pit area. Obviously, he had some sort of a problem because he wasn't due to pit yet. So he went in, did make his pit stop back out on the racetrack, but because he was in there when the yellow came out, he's probably going to lose a lap anyway.
Well, now it's been 35 laps since the leaders made their pit stop, but they'll have to make at least one more. Let's take a look again at what happened, if we can.
That's almost identical to the last time he went out there. He went up there and banged into the wall, almost identical to the thing he did the last time. He did it a little earlier in the race, though, or in the corner. I mean, not in the race.
Well, that car just pushed up there.
He just lost the air off the front wing. He just went right up to the wall.
Well, it continues on. You can see the right side pod is askewed.
They'll bring him in. They'll look and make sure all those uprights and everything are okay, because it's very easy to bend those things, and you won't know it until you get back on the throttle. So when the pits are open, I'm sure he'll be one of the guys that heads for the pit area.
That was the 51 car of Barron. You saw him behind the other Team Cheever Red Bull entry.
Everybody's slowing way down. Traffic pack back up.
The question is, when they open the pits, will they all come in? Because it's been 37 laps since your leaders made a pit stop. Well, they go about 71 or 72. They want to stretch this out as far as they could and go the distance then on one more stop.
You may see some of those guys stay out there. You may see Herta. Herta's the last car on the lead lap. He's in 11th position. He and Schechter and Dixon, although I think Schechter will come in and try to work on his car to get handling a little better. So
there's Scott Sharp. He is up to 6th position. A good ride for Scott. Last season was a dismal season. He was with Kelly. He came over here with the Delphi sponsorship this year and changed teams. And look at this. They're all coming in.
Well, Scott Sharp has been very, very quick since that last pit stop. It was just so-so before the last pit stop. But whatever they did the last time, they really got that thing going lots faster.
Looks like this race could be a shootout between Andretti Green and Team Penske for top honors. There's Franchitti underway. There you see the service of the number 3 of Castro Nevitz. And there goes Hornish.
Franchitti got out. He was third best in that group. Take a look. It looks to me like that upright is bent ever so slightly up there. And if it is, I'm not sure they'll let him go back out on the racetrack, because those pieces are very, very fragile.
Well, Scott Sharp had a good pit stop. You can see the damage to the right rear.
See, he's up on the jacks. They're not going to let him go back out there. He did damage those suspension parts on the right side of that car, I believe.
We've had 3 cautions so far this afternoon. One back for 11 laps on lap 16 through 27. Then Thomas Inky brought out the yellow, and then they most recent with Briscoe at lap 116.
You're back with the coverage from Arizona. Of course, it is the Indy 200 down there at the moment. We're under our third yellow. Ryan Briscoe, the rookie, has just clouted the wall. They've taken him into the pit and decided to take a bit of a look at that car just to see if anything's fractured there at the moment. Now then, very quickly, speculation over pit stops has been rife in the commentary position from trackside. I mean, could somebody risk it here if we get another yellow? Is there a situation here where we could have actually somebody pull a bit of a flanker pull tactically?
If you've got a 10-lap yellow, if I'd filled up now, I would risk keeping my man out. I'd definitely give it a whirl, because a splash and dash, I don't think. Here, it's such a short circuit. But you need 10 laps.
It's made Christopher smile, that's for sure, that particular prospect. Now, very quickly, Toyota, Christopher. Only seems to be the Penske's that are right up the front at the moment, with the exception of Darren Manning for a minute or two.
Well, quick things about Toyota. Firstly, it's extraordinary, isn't it, how the other Toyota engines have not been giving the power that Penske Toyotas really have been looking strong. And the other thing is that young Ryan Briscoe, paid for by Toyota to have joined the Chip Ganassi team, I think Toyota are going to be having a bit of a word with him, because he's not looked at all comfortable in these cars, and he's now smacked the wall 3 times in the course of his first 2 races.
And did I hear you mention earlier that Chip Ganassi is not shy of firing people? We just saw for a moment there Darren Manning. No need to answer that, Christopher, as we are at the moment. These are live pictures, of course. And interesting to see that Dan Weldon had also made his way up to 6th place after being down in something 9th or 10th last time we looked. So this is our 3rd yellow at the moment. We're going to be coming under green very soon indeed. You can see that man there very anxious, Tony Kanaan, currently in 9th place, really being caught out by that yellow and then having to come back in again. He came in twice for fuel. We don't quite know why that was. We can only speculate from here in the studio at the moment. So they're building up speed then for the green, it would look at the moment. Let's cross back to the track live in Phoenix.
Took the lead on lap 80, so he's led now 40 laps.
Sam Hornish trying to get a run on him. He got on the throttle a little early. Let's see if he can make that pass going into turn 1.
Here he comes down the inside. Does he have the momentum? Looks like he has the position and the momentum.
He got on the throttle a little bit before Castroneves did. Boy, I don't know though. Castroneves isn't giving up. This is the same way.
Oh, they almost get together in turn 2.
Wow, you don't want to take both the Penske cars out at one time. Castroneves doing a terrific job hanging on that outside. But Hornish is going to lead that lap. Castroneves not giving in very easily, though.
Hornish leads for the first time this afternoon.
I think Franchitti just stayed back there thinking, boy, if those guys crash, they're going to make this lead a lot easier. But
they're going to make that gap real small to get through.
That's right. Well, we've talked about Sam Hornish, how brave he is and how it makes him so good on this racetrack.
But look at Franchitti now.
He is coming. Once you get back there, once you get out in that dirty air, it's so much more difficult. And that's all that happened to Castroneves. He was fast out front. Nobody could catch him. But once he got in that dirty air, he didn't handle nearly as well, and he lost some of that momentum he had before. Franchitti, though, again, he looks to be the fastest car on the racetrack because he's right up on the rear wing of Sam Hornish right now. Franchitti did a great job there as he coming through the traffic. Sharp is hanging on back there in 4th place, and Weldon moving. He's still in 6th place back there, so he's not moving through the traffic near as much.
We'll also remember that Franchitti won at Milwaukee, and that's another tough racetrack to pass on. The little mile track up there north of Chicago. Roger Penske had to have a heartbeat skip a couple of beats when he saw those 2 guys almost get together.
Well, yeah, and boy, it was ever so close. We know that Sam Hornish is not afraid to stick his nose in there. He did it right then. And when you're coming off of turn number 2, that's such a ticklish place on this racetrack. So easy to have a crash. And both those guys did a great job just by hanging on.
Hornish becomes the 5th different leader this afternoon. Weldon led the first 72 laps.
Look at this. Here comes Franchitti.
Franchitti is trying to lead for the 2nd time this afternoon. He led only 2 laps in 73 and the 74th lap.
I think he might have this pass made. If he can keep his nose up in there and force Hornish to go to the outside, which he did going into 3 and 4. That's why turn number 1 and 2. That's why it's so important to have your car handled through turn 1 and 2. Because if you get off a 2 and you're still even with that guy, then you can beat him into 3 and 4.
So, Franchitti.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Franchitti is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Dan Weldon, right at the beginning of the race, there was no question he was the fastest guy out there. But now, since about lap 80, I think there hasn't been any doubt that Franchitti was the fastest guy on the racetrack.
So Franchitti leads it over Hornish. Castroneves is now 3rd. Sharp still runs in the 4th position.
Schechter's doing a great job. He's moved up into 5th place, so they must have made a change that last pit stop where he's moved up a little bit and he's running a little quicker right now.
On that shot down the front straightaway, you see the gap between Sharp and Schechter.
Yeah, the first 3 guys, there's no question. They have about a 3-second lead or 2-second lead on Scott Sharp. So they've got a long way back to the 4th place car.
Well, Sharp now is 3.7 seconds behind the leader. Then Schechter is closing in 5th. Kanaan is 6th. Then Weldon is 6th or 7th. Matsura has dropped all the way to 8th position.
Yeah, and what's very telling there, Kanaan started out in 9th. He's up to 6th. He's gotten around Dan Weldon. Dan Weldon started in 6th. He's lost that 1 position. So Weldon's car not working nearly as well in the traffic as it did out front.
Well, The question, too, is now they've gone 17 laps since their last pit stop. We're on lap 134, so who will elect to stretch it out? If we have another yellow and they get another maybe 8-10 laps of yellow, perhaps they could stretch it out and go the distance without a pit stop, but who's willing to roll the dice and see if they can't make it? Could be a costly roll of the dice. So Team Penske right now chasing Team Andretti Green with Franchitti out in front, Hornish and Castroneves in second and third. Sharp is fourth, then Scheckter, Kanaan, and Weldon. Matsura has dropped to 8th. Manning is 9th. Dixon is 10th. Then 11th is Herta. So Herta had a good ride going for him early on, but he's back now in 11th position. Mira is 12th, and they're the 12 on the lead lap. Mira has not been a factor here this afternoon.
Now, Mira is usually one of the faster guys on the racetrack. That whole team did not have their cars set up very well. All the Rahal Letterman drivers had a tough time, and you can see right now Schechter's having some sort of a problem. He was right up on Scott Sharp, and all of a sudden he's fallen way back. Kanaan went around him very easily right there.
So Kanaan picks up a position. He is up to 5th, and he sets sail for Sharp. There's a look at Scheckter in the only Chevrolet power plant on the racetrack. Had the pole position at Miami Homestead 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, whatever, I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if it's the handling or the engine, but right after that yellow flag, he really was quick, and now then the last few laps, he's slowed way down. He's way off the pace.
Franchitti goes around the number 16 of Danica Patrick.
Yeah, Franchitti is really on a roll. He is really, really quick, and has been for the last 50 to 75 laps.
Well, he's just completed lap 138. So 62 laps to go, but that would be meaning they went 84 laps on this tank of fuel.
Yeah.
That would be stretching it to extreme. Franchitti seems to be the cream of the crop this afternoon, just as his teammate Dan Weldon was 2 weeks ago for Andretti Green. The Penske boys are running second and third, with Hornish second and Castroneves third. Sharp is still in 4th position, with Kanaan closing in 5th.
Yeah, the first 70 laps, it looked like Weldon was just going to run away with this thing. But after that first pit stop, Weldon has not been quite as quick. And Franchitti, at the same time, just seemed like he's been out of a rocket ever since then. He's been really, really quick, very fast in traffic. That's been the whole key. Almost every pass he's made has been because he caught somebody in traffic.
You know, and with his background in road racing, he would be probably one of the least likely guys that you would say, well, who's going to win on a short track that requires a lot of expertise in traffic? Well, and yet he won at Milwaukee, and he's done very well here this afternoon.
And there were a lot of people who, after he broke his back, and he was one of the guys who wasn't really particularly happy to be running all ovals. He wanted to run some road courses. And after he broke his back, a lot of people thought he would come back the next year and be very timid. But he was not. Last year, he was very aggressive. He was very fast. And once again this year, he's proving that he can run the ovals with anybody. There's Scott Sharp, who's also having a very, very good run, as he right now is catching up with Castroneves. The last several laps, he's been closing that gap slowly but surely. And one of the best runs we've seen him have in the last couple of years.
Sharp now up in 4th position. There's a look at Franchitti again, enjoying a 2-second margin now over Hornish and a 3-second margin over Castroneves. So you can see the gap that represents 1 second between second and third. And there's Sharp, who starts to close in ever so slightly back in 4th position. As we said earlier, this is his 100th race. He's only missed, I think, 5 races because of those 2 concussions that he had a few years ago. He was the co-champion of the 1996, the very first Indy Racing League season. Shared that honor with Buzz Calkins.
Well, I think a lot of people wrote him off last year. Had a terrible year last year. Was never in contention for one single race. And a lot of people thought, well, maybe, he's getting a little long in the tooth, a little old. Maybe he shouldn't be doing this anymore. Well, he's proving right now. You get it with a good team. He's with Fernandez Racing, a good sponsor with a good setup, and he can still run with the best of them.
Former Trans Am champion. In fact, twice he's won in the Trans Am championship. As we said, he was the co-champion of the very first season of the Indy Racing League back in 1996. That was a kind of an abbreviated season, only 3 races that that constituted that series championship, and he shared that championship with Buzz Calkins. There's Vito Mira, and Mira's going to lap down, so now only 11 drivers on the lead lap. Mira had been in 12th position. Well, he still is in 12th, but now a lap off the pace.
Did you see how quickly Franchitti went around him? I mean, he just blew him away.
Well, Franchitti's lead now is just a second over Castro-Neves, or over Hornish, I mean. Castro-Neves is in third, some 1.3 seconds back, so we can see what the traffic effect is as that gap closes down between first and second. There's a look at Scheckter and Matsura. They run back in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and Schechter's been just falling off the pace more and more. Whatever his problem is, it's really just keeps getting worse. And here comes Mira. He came into the pit area. He's having all kinds of trouble out there, running much slower than the leaders who decide to come in and make a change.
Castro-Neves has led a couple of times this afternoon. He's led a total of 42 laps, so it still looks like Weldon will be the guy that gets the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps, unless Franchitti can check out here.
Yeah. Well, Hornish right now is actually catching Franchitti just a little bit, so you can't. It's not over till it's over. And Sam Hornish is one of those guys that certainly will not give up.
Well, but if they have a yellow, and they all make the pit stop under the yellow, and things go according to plan, then you would think Franchitti would come back out as the leader.
Well, that would be what you would think. Vito Mira, after that pit stop, he's 2 laps down. Looks like he's much faster on the racetrack, but still 2 laps down. He's running about 1.5 miles or 2 miles an hour quicker than he was before, but it cost him greatly. It cost him a whole lap on the racetrack.
You can see he's 8th in points coming into this event. We're talking about Vito Mira there. Back on the racetrack, that is Scott Dixon, who is now in 11th position, about to go a lap down as he goes by the number 20.
Ooh, Franchitti had to get on the brakes. That's Hornish right behind him. Hornish had a little bit of a run, but he had to get on his brakes too. Otherwise, he might have had a shot to get around Franchitti right there as they came up on Eddie Carpenter.
The top 3 are right together on the racetrack in traffic again, and that is the number 9 of Dixon out in front of your leader. So Franchitti, Hornish, and Castro-Neves are stacked up nose to tail, trying now to get by the champion of 2 years ago.
You'll remember Weldon lost the lead when he was trying to get around Scott Dixon. We'll see if the same thing happens to Franchitti right here.
Well, Dixon at that point did not want to go to lap down. He does not want to go a lap down now.
Doesn't want to go down any worse right now than he did then. You can see right there, Franchitti got right up behind him. The front end washed out. He got a little wide. Oh, look at this. Castro-Neves making a run on his teammate now.
And they've got then Manning or Dixon trying to get by the number 16 of Danica Patrick. So traffic is trying to get around traffic.
They got to run on Franchitti a little bit as he slowed down, but still not enough. Ooh, look at that. Castro-Neves had to get out of the throttle. He got under Patrick and lost the front end, so he lost a little ground right there.
Times when you're running 1, 2, and 3 headed for traffic, the guy that's in second or third has the advantage over the leader.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. And meanwhile, Scott Sharp and Tony Kanaan are closing in on these 3, so while they're stuck behind Scott Dixon, the whole bunch is really closing up.
Well, of course, Brian Barnhart could actually get on the radio and call to Dixon and say, let him by.
Well, he hasn't done that so far. Oh, look at that. Franchitti had to get out of the throttle. We're going to see Hornish make a run on him right here, I believe.
Castro-Neves, after he got around Danica Patrick, has closed in on Hornish. Hornish looked to the outside, not the ideal spot to pass in that corner.
Well, he made a run. He just couldn't make it work. Wasn't fast enough around the outside. And Franchitti used up enough racetrack enough to let him out there.
Well, Dixon right now is running as fast. In fact, that last lap, he was faster than the first 2.
Yeah, but he's really holding him up. And you can see, there goes Hornish. He's to the inside this time.
Oh, look at this, 3-4 wide.
Wow. That time Franchitti again. That was a tremendous job. And now they're
holding the Penske cars up.
Yeah, that was a tremendous job. And you can see right there, Castro-Neves almost got in the wall. He had to get way out of the throttle, lost a lot of ground right there. And now here goes Hornish to the outside, but look at the ground. Franchitti once again, a great move. He's really been good in traffic today.
Here comes Kanaan to the inside of Scott Sharp for position. That's position number 4. Kanaan's up to 4th. I'll tell you what, there may be some comments between these drivers when the race is over. They may go up and say something to Scott Sharp about how difficult it was to get around him.
Scott Dixon, you mean?
Scott Dixon, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there will be, but that's the way Phoenix is. That's what this racetrack is all about. You've got to deal with the traffic. If you can't deal with the traffic, then you can't win here. You know that coming in, so there's no sense getting mad at somebody about it because you're always going to be in traffic. That's what makes this racetrack so tough. Here comes Kanaan. He's going to try to the inside. Didn't make that work.
Castroneves to the high side of Dixon. Well, he had the momentum down the straightaway. He may have this pass made.
Once you get to the outside there, the guy on the inside's got to let out of the throttle a little bit so he doesn't drift out into you. And that's when you can make that pass. So Castroneves did exactly what he had to do right there.
You saw Kanaan up to 4th. He got around Sharp. Sharp's in 5th. Weldon is 6th. Schechter is 7th. Matsura 8th. 9th is Manning. And 10th now is Herta. Herta is the last driver on the lead lap. It looks like those two guys had a lot easier time going around Dixon.
Well, once Dixon got lapped, he knew, there wasn't much sense holding anybody else up. He was already behind him, so he just kind of pulled down and let the rest of the guys on the lead lap go. But right now, we've only got 10 cars on that lead lap.
There's Tony Kanaan, presently in 4th position. Franchitti continues to lead. We have now 56 laps to go. And more than likely one pit stop.
Yep. I believe you're going to see some of them not make it on pit. If it stays green, some of these guys are not going to be able to go the complete distance. You're going to see some guys stay out there and take the chance. You're going to see, I think some of these leaders are not going to take that chance, though. The points mean more to them than falling out and not finishing the race.
Well, one advantage to a smaller...
Look at this. He goes to the inside.
That's Harnish to the inside of Franchitti. Could not take the pass, trying to block him behind some slower traffic. I was going to say, on a smaller track, though, once that engine begins to sputter, you can get to the pits. If you're on some big track, it takes a lot longer to get around.
That was Carpentier, and he got out of the throttle and just let him go. It was a good move on his part. He didn't have to worry about it.
Well, they caught Barron at the right spot for Franchitti to go by, but then Harnish gets stuck behind him.
Yep. Now then he's slowed down, and Castroneves has got a run on him. Not enough of a run. Hornish had enough of a lead that it didn't give Castroneves the chance to get around him, but certainly gave Franchitti some breathing room now as he's moved away several car lengths from these two.
Well, Franchitti has led some 37, about 39 laps, so it could be close between Weldon and Franchitti on who ends up getting those 3 bonus points.
Well, it's still a lot of laps to go. So, and the traffic, again, is going to play a huge part in this. Franchitti has been pretty fortunate in some respect as he comes up on his teammate, Brian Herta. He's getting ready to lap him next. Be interesting to see if Herta moves over and lets him go and then battles the Penske cars a little more. I'm sure he's going to...
I think if we're going to be watching for that, Brian Barnhart will be watching for it as well.
He might. You can see he pulled down to the inside. He didn't even try to hold up Franchitti. He got out of the throttle. He was told to get the heck out of the way, and he did exactly that.
Well, that's a good team player right there.
It's a good team player. Now we'll see what happens when the Penske cars...
How wide he makes that race car now.
Exactly. There's Schechter. He's next on the hit list as he's going to get lapped.
And he pulls over and says, let you go on by.
Yeah, they're...
So now only 8 cars on the lead lap. Matsura is now in 8th position. Manning is 7th.
You can see right now Franchitti is just pulling away as it looks like Castroneves and Hornish both having a lot more trouble with that traffic than Franchitti had.
Gee, what a surprise.
Yeah, what a surprise is right. But
they get around Schechter.
Yeah, Schechter's really, he just keeps slowing down. Herta got around him, so he just keeps slowing up for some reason.
So Franchitti took the lead on lap 129. We completed 173.
Yeah.
And right along with Schechter. You can see how dirty that limbs cover gets.
Oh, he's going to head for the pits.
He's headed for the pits.
He's had enough. Whatever the problem is, he's had enough of it. He's going to go in and try to get it fixed. It's probably just handling so badly, he's scaring himself to death every time he goes around the corner. He decided he might as well make his last pit stop now, hope to get the problem fixed, and then go back out there. when it's as loose as it appeared to be for him right then, you know, you are absolutely just scaring yourself to death out there.
That takes a lot to scare him.
Yeah, it does. You're exactly right. But
he
boy,
and Sam Harnish probably the two bravest guys out there.
Yeah, but when your race car is handling so bad, when it's that loose on this racetrack, this is not a racetrack that you want to be loose on. You'd rather see the wall when you hit it rather than back into it.
Loose is fast in some forms of racing, but not here at Phoenix.
Well, it is. It's fast here, but you got to if you're going to be loose here,
line there.
Right? You got to be very, very careful to be on that line here at this racetrack.
Well, right now, the advantage is Franchides at 2.1 seconds over Hornish, and a 2.3 second lead over Castroneves. The Penske cars are still right together on the racetrack. You see them in that same shot there as they.
Yeah, Hornish just had a lot of trouble with lap traffic. So.
Well, we are getting a report from the Andretti Green pit lane that they're going to bring Franchides in for that final pit stop. He's gone 60 laps now. Before he went like 72 before his pit stop.
Well, the thing is, you know, if you're the first guy to pit, you might have an advantage if the yellow flag comes out or something. So, I don't know. The other thing that might have happened is they might have short fueled that last time, betting that there was going to be another yellow. And if they did, we saw Kanaan come back in and refuel his car. Obviously, these guys are not going to take a chance. They're going to get in early this time and come back out and hope there's not a yellow.
And he continues to build his lead at over 3 seconds now over Hornish, and almost 4 seconds for Castroneves, but he could be pitting this time in. Yeah, here he is.
22 laps to go.
Peels off the slight banking. Hits the speed limit. That's an early pit.
Change tires. Now remember, they don't have to put a lot of fuel in there. They've only got 22 laps to go. So as soon as the tires are changed, see, they just put, as soon as the tires are changed and he was down, he was gone again. There was no waiting. They didn't put a full fuel load in there, but they don't need a full fuel load. They only need 22 laps. He's going to lose a complete lap. So if it stays green, anybody that can stay out there and last the rest of this race, get good enough fuel mileage, which I'm not sure there's anybody who can do that, but if there is somebody, they can easily win this race.
Okay, was there a reason, Larry, that they brought him in after 62 laps as opposed to, say, 70?
Well, I'm not sure. Either one of two things. Either they didn't get a full fuel load in the last time, so they had to come in early, or it might be their strategy that if he comes in early, gets fresher tires, he can run faster for these next 22 laps. And if everybody else stays out there, he can gain enough speed just to gain enough ground on him. If there is a yellow, he'll have made up some ground. I'm not sure what he did there.
Well, Hornish leads for the second time this afternoon. He led some 9 laps between 120 and 129. He leads his teammates. The Penske cars are running 1-2 right now as they're trying to get around the Target Ganassi cars. That is Manning. And again, Manning forces him to the outside. Hornish, Castroneves, Kanaan now is up to third, so he's not out of this thing yet, but he's like 9.5 seconds behind the leader. Sharp is fourth. Weldon now is up to fifth. Manning is sixth. We have now only 5 cars on the lead lap, and he's trying to get around Manning.
Well, Manning lets him go this time. He got around him. I wasn't sure Manning was going to let him go. He got out of the throttle just slightly and let him go on around the outside. Now Castroneves has got to deal with him.
So 184 laps, make that 85 laps now complete. They get up on Dixon.
Dixon gets way out of the throttle and made it real easy for Sam Hornish that time around.
So you see the laps to go.
Well, they're coming up on 70 laps, 68 laps they've run now, 69 laps. So I don't know. I don't see how the Penske cars can make it without a pit stop. But if they can, they will have done the magic thing. Dan Weldon is in now. You can see the brakes on that thing are just steaming hot.
And here comes Kanaan for his pit stop.
Well, the Hondas obviously they knew they couldn't make it, so they're in the pits. We'll see if the Toyotas get any better gas mileage. I don't see that they can get that much better.
Did you see what they had? A stick of some kind, and somebody was on the backside of the wall, was hitting the refueler on the shoulder, let him know, let him go, let him go, pull it out, pull it out.
Here they come. Here comes the Penske cars. This is Hornish. Now the thing you don't want to do, they've got a paddle on that wheel to pull that puts them at the right speed down pit lane, but you don't want to make a mistake and enter the pits too quickly and get a penalty. They're not even going to
change tires. Fuel only.
Fuel only, getting back on the racetrack, hopefully make that a quicker pit stop than the other guys made by not changing tires. The question is, how much faster are the tires if you don't make that pit stop? Here comes Franchitti. I don't think he's going to be able to hang on to it.
Yeah, but if one Toyota stopped, where's the other one?
Well, he's still on the racetrack, and here comes Scott Sharp.
Scott Sharp. He's going to be fuel only. Fuel only.
And Franchitti.
Time stopped.
Franchitti got around Hornish. He did get around him before Hornish got out there. And here comes Castroneves.
And that'll put Sharp.
Now Sharp has been in.
Sharp has been in.
Hornish now. We'll see if Castroneves can beat him out. That was a shorter pit stop than Hornish's. He might be able to beat both Franchitti and Hornish back out on the racetrack. There they come, though. He's not going to make it. They've got a run on him. And Hornish did beat Franchitti. I thought Franchitti got around him, but he did not. Hornish has the lead now. Castroneves could not get back out in front of him. He's back in third. Dan Weldon has gone a lap down. You see him right behind him. Appears to be very quick. He'd like to get around Hornish and give him a little trouble, give Franchitti a chance to get up there and battle with Hornish. The other scenario would be to get the heck out of the way and give Franchitti a chance to go up there.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, give him a chance to go up there and battle him on his own.
You better hurry up, let him go by, because 9 laps to go will go by in a hurry.
Yeah, they certainly will, and I'm very surprised that Weldon has stayed between those two. I would think, you know, they would want Franchitti to get up there and try to give him a run. There he goes. He's going to the bottom right now.
Well, it didn't help, though.
Yeah, he's going to let it off the throttle and let him go, see. Andretti Green team said, hey,
I think they would have done that.
You're on our team. Get the heck out of the way.
Uh-oh, Schechter up against the fence.
Yeah, and it's going to bring out the yellow, because that thing in the front, he's not going to be able to steer that thing into the pits. You can see the right front corner is tore off of that car. So this thing is going to come down to a shootout. Well, this is 193, so
it's going to be a quick yellow.
A quick yellow. Shouldn't be very long, but
this is the caution they needed to make those pit stops.
Well, it's right, and none of them could wait that long. So we'll see what happens now. Hornish, Franchitti, and Castroneves all going to get a chance on the restart.
Well, Hornish will be leading Franchitti and Castroneves on this restart. As we'll perhaps have a replay here to show you what happened with Schechter. I did not see that. We were watching up in front. Did not see what transpired with Schechter.
Well, Weldon is going to be between Franchitti and Castroneves, so Castroneves is not going to have a great chance to win this race now.
Okay, let's watch again your riding, looking out the back of the number 4 Pennzoil car, and he just pushed his fence.
Just pushed the front end. Again, he did almost exactly the same thing we've seen a couple of other guys do here. As going through turn number 4, the front end got out from under him. He just went out there and just banged the wall with the right side, and nothing you can do when that happens.
So he is walking away okay. Ashley Judd, of course, very popular actress in this country.
Twice last year when your husband won races. Can he pull it off now?
I absolutely think he can. All weekend he's been saying he loved his car, particularly in the corners. It was a beast. He kept encouraging me to go to my game because he knows how much my Wildcats mean to me, but I knew he thought he had a car that could win it, and I wasn't going to miss that for the world.
Well, you're showing the Wildcat colors pretty well. They play tonight against Cincinnati. It could be a double win today for this family.
Well, of course, that would be my ideal. My team is playing really well. We can play actually some fabulous, great, epic basketball at times. What I hope they do tonight is turn out with a lot of spirit, which has been lacking on occasion, which I don't really understand. That's not typical for the Kentucky Wildcats, but I think that we'll be all right against Cincinnati.
Your husband not lacking any spirit now. I just heard him on the radio a moment ago say it's all about the restart. He's ready.
He's pretty fired up. And I have to say, Sam Hornish is not his favorite person, so.
This could be interesting, guys.
Well, that's Sam Hornish is not his favorite person.
Out of the mouth of babes.
Well, see what happens here.
Ashley, of course, went to the University of Kentucky, and they're in the NC2A basketball championships, playing this evening against Cincinnati. I'd like to hear from Roger Penske, if possible, as the
Come up through the gearbox. We're talking about Sam Hornish. This has been a wild race, Roger.
Well, it's been a great race. You can see how competitive this series really is. We really don't get the credit. A lot of passing, real good pit stops. Going to be tough here at the end. 27's got tires, but, you know, we got Hornish.
What's the key with Sam? What are you going to tell him just before they drop the green flag?
Tell him to get a real good start.
Roger Penske ought to know, before he started winning all these races, he was in the cockpit as well, guys.
was that the 40th? This is the 40th anniversary season for Roger Penske, and as Jack alluded to, that he was a driver and a pretty prominent sports car driver in the beginning.
There was a period of time that you absolutely could not beat Roger Penske race cars. I mean, there was a period of time when they were the guys to beat every time on a racetrack. Of course, the Andretti Green team has kind of taken that over here in the last 2 years, but they're still very, very tough. And again, this is a handling racetrack, so that would be a big advantage for those guys. The Hondas still have a little bit more horsepower, I think.
Okay, they're getting to 1 to go, so this is going to be a couple laps of a shootout. This will be less than a 4-lap trophy dash.
Yep, it's going to be a 2-lap trophy dash, and it's going to be Sam Hornish and Dario Franchitti. Weldon is not going to move over and let Castroneves get up there and get in that mix.
So on the restart, we have now 5 drivers on the lead lap. Hornish, Franchitti, Castroneves, Kanaan, and Sharp. And you see him pick up the throttle. Here they come.
Well, you can bet that he's going to try to keep to the bottom. You call it blocking, you call it whatever you want, but he's not going to let Franchitti get up beside him. He can help it in any way, shape, or form. Franchitti just did. No, Franchitti lost it. He got the front end went away from him. He went up and tapped the wall.
Will that bring out the yellow? They're going to continue on. He's going to continue on.
What a terrible break for him. He's going to fall way, way back because he probably bent that right front suspension. But this virtually hands the victory to Sam Hornish.
And gives second place to Castroneves.
Well, you got to give Franchitti credit. He went for it. He didn't back off. He did everything he needed to do. Just couldn't quite pull it off. He got up so close to Hornish, the front end took off on him, and once that front end takes off, it's very hard to get that thing stopped.
You know, Hornish won this race 4 years ago. Dual checkered flags. He's won it again. Castroneves goes to second. Kanaan, look at that, finishes third. Franchitti is going to be given 4th position.
What a race. Dario Franchitti tried for it but blew it. Sam Hornish the winner. A 1-2 for Penske. There they are, and we'll have all the race reaction coming up after this very short break. Sam Hornish takes the Indy 200 and therefore the lead in the IndyCar Championship after 2 rounds. This is Phoenix, Arizona. These are live pictures. It is Victory Lane, and Sam Hornish, well, that's put a smile back on Roger Penske's face, I'm sure. A 1-2 for the Toyota team, and you've got to say that that's a hell of a way to end a second round of the championship at the moment. Dario Franchitti challenging for the lead. He went for it, but he blew it, and there's no other word for it. And you have to say, after his wife Ashley Judd let that cat out of the bag regarding his, should we say, less than favourable friend Sam Hornish, which amused us here, and I'm sure will amuse him when he hears it as well. Blew it is the only thing I can come to, Paul, but he did try for it, and he had only one chance to try and sneak past with 2 laps to go. Can we blame him for it?
No, I mean, as we see here, he did everything he could to take the jump. He's tried to squeeze on the top side. As I said at the top of the show, once this track's halfway through the race, there's so much stuff out there, it just slid him into the wall. He was lucky that he was able to finish, but 4th place is a good finish. You
did say that right at the beginning, one groove around this racetrack. We've seen several people, lesser men than Dario Franchitti, sliding up the track a little bit today as soon as they get off that line. Sam Hornish, though, wasn't fazed by what was going on behind him, was he?
No, he wasn't. But the difference is that he had the clean air, and you know, we've got to explain that there are, apart from the marbles offline issue at Phoenix, which is always a problem, King, the fact is that Dario was desperate. What you've got to do at a restart is get as close to the man as close as a man in front of you possibly can, but not so close that do what happened to Dario, which is you get to the corner and suddenly you've lost your air, and as a result that's what sends you up into the marbles in the first place. Anyway, listen, he's rescued 4th place. It's not the end of the world, but it's a worry, and it's a worry for him. You know, he should be able to win those races.
He did have a bit of an eventful race though at the end of the day. Franchitti was held up a little bit earlier on by Scott Dixon. Dixon was all over the road and just gave everyone a bit of a chance to draw on up behind him. Let's talk about some of the other guys. The back markers particularly did make it very, very, very hectic for the front runners, and a big differential in speeds around this racetrack.
Yeah.
Not much you can do about that round a 1 mile oval though, is there?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that during this race we didn't hear the commentators once mention AJ Foyt Jr. He was there, just in case anyone was wondering. Paul Dana, the rookie, had another really unconvincing performance. Danica, for reasons we understand, she wasn't very quick, and yes, it seemed to the quick boys as though there was always a slow car in front of them and moving unpredictably as well, and that's not what you need at Phoenix.
But even the kind of guys that we would have expected to be somewhere thereabouts today have had a very, very bad day. There seems to be polarised difficulties for Thomas Scheckter, for instance. Vita Mira is another one that we were expecting great things from that didn't really perform today. Can you put that down to anything? They've all tested at this track previously, so it's not like anyone's at a disadvantage.
No, I mean, these guys, as you say, they test at this place relentlessly. It's one of the favourite 1 mile ovals because the weather's good all the time. But what's clearly happening now, this series, people must realise it has really got professional, and Penske and Andretti Green are throwing shed loads of money at this series, and even Rail Letterman, which is certainly in the top 3 of the teams, is not as well funded as people think, not even Chip. And I think now this is what they're up against. These guys are really, really going for it.
Indeed. Well, Dan Weldon did predict that before. He had a 13-point advantage going into this race. He's now got a 9-point deficit to make up. We'll take a short break. We've more from Phoenix in a moment. Well, what a race it's been for the Indy 200 in Phoenix in Arizona today. Dario Franchitti, I should say, right in the thick of the action and basically blew it on the last couple of turns on the last lap. We've discussed all of that at the moment. Let's talk about the Chevy. We were all great expectations from that. I know Paul and Chris and I were talking about when we were driving into the office today, Chevys for the Indy 500, but not a great showing today after the first round that did so well at.
They were very quick in Miami, weren't they? But it didn't look so good here. But mind you, on the other hand, it has to be said that he put in the quite a strong performance. Yeah, looking ahead to the Indy 500, more Chevys coming to be, in fact, in the back of Payne Aussies.
And more about that, of course, in a moment. Sam Hornish, I can tell you, is the race winner today, and we can hear from him now.
Well, we had a really good day, the Marlboro Team Penske guys, and we elected to stay on the tires that we ran the long run before that. So I just picked my line, and it was just like any of the high mile, the high bank tracks that we run at. You pick your line and you stay there, and I just picked the bottom coming right off the corner and took it all the way down the front straightaway. So
how wide did the car get though?
Not at all. It's hard to pass on the outside of turn 1. I tried to go around the outside of Dario there a couple times, so I knew when he went to go to the outside of me that it was going to be a hard road to go. But these Marlboro Team Penske guys did an awesome job for me in the pits today, and we just had a heck of a lot of fun out there and just bided our time and made it to the end of the race.
Let's talk about that last pit stop, because Dario Franchitti came in about 10 laps sooner than you did. The Marlboro Penske crew went to work with you flawlessly. Didn't have to take on as much fuel, but boy, they got you in and out faster than I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, we went in and out real quick. These guys have been working real hard on their pit stops. I'm super proud of them. They've done a great job, and one of the biggest things about this is the littlest amount of time that you can spend in the pits, and we knew that as we didn't do tires, that we could just put enough fuel in to make it to the end, and it was just enough of what we needed.
Well, a neat situation for the whole team, and Sam Hornish in particular. Goes to the top of the tree. Let's take a look at the standings as they are now after round 2. Sam Hornish then 90 points, 6 behind. Well, there you go, Dan Weldon. That's not what I had it worked out at, but of course he did lead for the most amount of laps, so he picked up the 3 points and I hadn't accounted for them. So I'll never make a mathematician, will I? Tony Kanaan then in third place. What a brilliant drive from him. We will be talking about him in a moment. Coming right the way through from the back of the grid. And even though he's 20 points adrift, that could have been much, much worse. Elio Castroneves comes up to fourth place. Darren Manning, another fine drive from him. He was 8th overall in the end, but goes up to 5th in the championship. Vita Mira, a disappointment for him, slips to 6th place. Patrick Carpentier, after that big qualifying crash, is in 7th place in the championship. Scott Sharp, Dario Franchitti and Brian Herter round out the top 10 after 2 of 17 races. That's how it looks at the moment in the championship. Lots of winners and losers today in Phoenix, but of course I think we must look forward to round 3 when we, for the very first time, go to the roads. And what an interesting situation we've got in St. Petersburg coming up. Round 3, back into Florida again. Your thoughts? It's the first time Indy cars actually go, well, should we say right at a racetrack?
Yes, it'll be a little confusing for the Oval Cartel, but no, it's going to be an interesting race. St. Petersburg hosted a kart race 2 years ago. Wasn't a success for kart, but it may well be a success for the IRL. Honda are backing this particular event very heavily, and it's going to be interesting to see if the road racers come to the fore. I think we'll see an interesting group start to emerge.
You have a big involvement with Paynos, Chris. I mean, obviously everybody's been working very hard to make what are oval cars and a formula for oval cars into road cars and street circuit cars and closed roads cars. It's going to be a very interesting time, isn't it?
Yeah, so both my friends at Paynos now, formerly Paynos G-Force, and the guys at Dallara, designed these cars to turn left at over 200 miles an hour on oval tracks. Then came this extraordinary possibility of running 3 or 4 races a season on either streets or what we'd call racetracks, as in our sense. And we're going to Watkins Glen, for instance, the sort of American version of Brands Hatch.
And Sears Point.
And Sears Point, nice track, nice track. But down in the streets of St. Petersburg, it's slow, it's sharp, left, right, that sort of thing. Now, it's going to be a big surprise to find out how these cars handle. Gearbox, of course, was designed for ovals.
And brakes.
And brakes, all this stuff. And so for the teams, particularly the less well-funded teams, they've had to go to the manufacturers, they've had to buy all this kit, you know, to convert what is essentially your oval chassis to the road car format and so on. It's going to be street track format, I should say. It's going to be expensive, it's going to be complicated, but it should provide some great racing.
Budget, major problem. You've been a team manager, Paul. I mean, the fact of the matter is a lot of these teams have done a lot of budget in the first 2 rounds through incidents and crashes. We're talking earlier on with Christopher about the amount of money Paynos-wise, 2 new chassis being shipped out this week. 2 whole cars, that's a big, big bite of the budget with 17 races still to go. How much are these teams going to be feeling it? Are they all going to make it to the end?
That's a very good question. The interesting thing, and let's put it to a side, is firstly the safety aspect. We've seen some big accidents, but with this new safer wall that all the ovals are now running, these drivers are not getting hurt. Danica had a concussion, but nobody's been hurt in what we have seen in previous years in the IRL. So for that, we're very grateful. The cars themselves are taking an enormous beating. And as you say, I would think the Dallara and the G-Force truck have been picked clean at 2 events now. That is good for the manufacturers, but as you say, it puts a huge strain when they're now buying additional kits, as Chris has alluded to, for the road courses. It's not just a couple of bits, it's a differential, it's new rear suspension, it's wings, all this sort of stuff. So, to come back to your question, I think all the teams will make it because there is a benevolent supporter of the series in the background. We won't mention him, but as he said. But in all seriousness, the teams will definitely be looking very hard at their costings come halfway.
The series, as far as bringing these road courses in, I mean, obviously Champ Car used to run roads and ovals. It was a great series. It found itself in difficulty. Indy cars have really taken over as a premier open wheel class, I believe, in America now. Do you think this really is going to be the situation where Tony George's vision of Indy cars taking over as the #1 and being the best series, are we a step closer to that?
Well, blimey, just not at all a political question there then, Keith. It is the fact at the moment that Champ Car has not yet started racing its 2005 season. It's going to be hard to see how that is going to go just at the moment. They've got big plans for the future. I think there's a chance for both of them to survive. IRL on road courses, something to look forward to. We'll see how it goes.
Can't wait for that as well. Now then, of course, something new to IndyCar. Our next race on Sky will be the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. This will be the first time, of course, and we've mentioned it already, that an IndyCar race has been run on a street course, and we'll be bringing you exclusive coverage of this event. You can see it here on Sunday, April the 3rd on Sky Sports Extra at 11 p.m. What an event that's going to be. Join us for that, of course. Well, that's it. All we have time for today. Congratulations to Sam Hornish and Penske, of course. My thanks to our guests, Christopher Tate and Paul Cherry, and to you, of course, for watching. We'll leave you now with some of the highlights from Phoenix. Goodbye.